Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Drunk aka here with you with a game in my Holland, the Tier 10 Tech Tree Pan European Destroyer. What do we need to know about the Holland? Well, initially when I started playing her, I found her to be a little bit chonky. She's a little bit bigger turning circle radius than the Oostergutland. 2 racks of 5 torpedoes apiece, and guns are pretty solid. Guns seem to reload in about 2.7 seconds, or actually less than that, about 2.1 seconds, I believe, with this build. But I am running a standard European DD build, priority target, adrenaline rush, last stand, survivability expert, superintendent, RPF, and concealment. We are in a tier 10 match. We're on Atlantic, and we are in the worst spawn possible, the sea spawn. We're up against a Shimakaze and a black. For destroyers, we have a Fletcher as well. There's also a Smolensk, Bayard, Chappie, and Ibuki. All cruisers which will make my life hell. 2 secondary ships in the Massachusetts and the Tirpitz. And of course, we have a CV on the enemy team. Shokaku, which is actually not too bad for me. I'm divvied up with Farting Chick and Valhalla Express. And this is going to be an example of what the Holland is capable of doing. The Holland is kind of, I would liken it to the difference between the Kitakaze and the Haragumo. The Kitakaze is relatively nimble, relatively agile. The Haragumo is sort of like a brick on water. The Oostergutland is somewhat nimble and relatively capable, but also the Holland is kind of, like I said, like a brick on water. Even at full rudder, it really has, it feels thick, it feels beefy, it feels somewhat slow in the water. Torpedoes, of course, are fantastic. 15 kilometers, approximately 90 knots. They don't do a whole lot of damage, but they are great for area denial. Now, at this point, in Discord chat, I see somebody's in this cap, and I say, all right, if Valhalla has radar on him, let's pop it. Let's see if we can scare this guy out of the cap. We see the Chappie. The Chappie takes a big chunk, and he's suddenly down to half health, and that's great for me because that 12-kilometer radar is pretty scary. Swing behind the island, trying to dodge Shima Torps, and sure enough, he puts Torps into the gap towards Valhalla and Chick. And that means, well, I can probably push this. They already captured B. Our Fletcher is contesting B with the black. Trying to get our CV. Hopefully our CV will go after the black and take care of him. Second rack of Shima Torps. There's a Smolensk pushing in. Actually pushing towards B, so we fear for our Fletcher's safety. Massachusetts and a Chappie still here. We're not doing too badly, though. We are contesting C. A is untouched by anybody. And, of course, B is contested by the Fletcher. In fact, he's capping B at this point. So, we actually are not in a bad spot here. Torps out on that smoke cloud. Trying to run the Shima out of town. And now, we're trying to figure out, how do we do this? How do we push this? We've captured B. We're contesting C. We're going to start ticking over points. And that's pretty good. Neither team's doing a whole lot of damage. The Chappie so far has taken the most beating out of anybody. But we still haven't found the Shima. See its first rack of torpedoes. Massachusetts. I'm waiting for my torps to come up for that Massachusetts because I want to push that Massachusetts right back. I want to try and flood him. I want to see if I can force a repair, force some dot damage, and just basically get him to run. so that we can push through C into B and clean up the rest of this mess. Now, this is what the Halland is extremely good at. This ship is fantastic at pestering, what I would consider pestering enemy ships, especially enemy battleships. The torps are incredibly fast. They don't do a lot of damage, but they do force damage control on ships, which is very important because dot damage is your major source of damage in these ships. You're not going to be doing a lot of alpha strike damage. I'm pinging the Shokaku, trying to get him to pay attention to the black. He has torpedo bombers out right now, and he's switching to rocket planes to go after that destroyer, which is exactly what we need. And he gets cranky, telling me to stop fucking pinging. I get it. Well, pay attention. Then pay attention and go do something about it. So where does the Halland suffer? Well, the Halland suffers in the fact that it has no smokescreen. So it's very vulnerable to air attack. It's vulnerable to open water play. So you have to be very, very cautious. You have to take every fight as an unfair fight in your favor. Never pick a fair fight. So, for example, there's a Chappie radar. I'm spotted. That's bad. There's a Smolensk in smoke that we dropped torps on. The Smolensk knows I'm here. I see the Chappie come out of the smoke, and I can basically sail out of his radar, stay undetected, and I will be safe. The Shokaku starts dunking on the black, which is amazing. The Smolensk starts shooting at the Fletcher, who has ventured within radar range of that Chappie. Apparently goes dark at this point. The black is getting nuked right now, which is fantastic. We have torps out on the Smolensk smoke cloud. We can take a look at pushing the Shima out of here. We get one torpedo on whatever's sitting in that smoke cloud. We're assuming it's the Smolensk, and he's flooded. And at this point, chat, we're only 7 minutes into the game, and we have 7,000 points of damage. We've had very little impact on this game so far, except for being area denial. And this is what the Halland is extremely good at. Now, most people will say, but Doc, isn't the Halland very similar to the Smoland? Well, yes and no. The Halland gets that wonderful 3-minute engine boost. Granted, it's only an 8% engine boost, but it does get a 3-minute duration engine boost with, of course, with the module. With the module, of course, the upgrade, special upgrade. And even though it's only an 8% engine boost, it still means that this ship is a hell of a lot more effective of a gunboat and effective at getting around the map than the Smoland. Also have to consider the torpedo armament on the Halland versus the Smoland. The Halland has 2x5 instead of the Smoland's 5x1 and 3x1, or 1x3 and 1x5. So torpedo damage is a little bit more consistent. The reload is basically comparable, especially with this build. So overall, my pick is generally the Halland as a better ship. Now the problem here, the Shimakaze actually outspots us by about half a kilometer. Thankfully, Valhalla nukes that Smolensk, so this has suddenly become an unfair fight for that Shimakaze. Halland guns will absolutely ruin that ship. And of course, I'm going to have those laser-fast torpedoes coming in here and coming up very quickly, so we'll be able to do damage with them as well. I asked Valhalla if he has hydro. He pops his hydro, and that forces the Shima to push out of his smoke. And that Shima is dead. There's nothing that Shima can do except die. Valhalla gets the kill on that Shima, and here is where the Halland shines like a boss above the Smoland, above the Ostiotland, and above pretty much every other tier 9 and 10 destroyer. The Shokaku comes after me. I pop defensive AA. I set my priority sector. And those planes fall out of the sky. That guy has no chance. No chance of taking me out with planes. One thing that's very important to recognize, though, in playing the Pan-Euro DDs, you need to be able to turn off your AA and turn it back on. Turning off your AA allows you to go dark. You can surprise attack planes, rocket planes, things like that. You can stay undetected longer. And of course, when they actually get in that AA bubble, you can see I just shred 10 planes without defensive AA. When they get inside that protective AA bubble, suddenly, not only can they not drop you on the first pass, they're forced to go through your AA for longer to line up a drop. And you can do significant damage to their planes during the process. So that by the time they actually are able to drop you, they can't do any damage because they probably don't have any planes left. We get a torp, a Hail Mary torp on that Shokaku. We flood him, which is hysterical because we flood him and we get the kill somehow. While Valhalla's pinging away and plugging away at him with the AP from his Puerto Rico, we're able to get the flood damage, which finally kills him. So we're up to 25,000 points of damage. We have a kill. Right now, we're up one ship, and we're up 200 points. But if you look at our health, we're down. Battleships, they have 4 battleships remaining. We have 1. Valhalla's about half hit points. Our Atago is really low. Our Donskoy is just around half. The Fletcher and I are just around half. Now, it's worth pointing out that the Halland, along with the rest of the Pan-Euro DDs, gets something that most destroyers do not, and that is a heal. And that heal comes in very, very handy. In fact, so much so that I actually run a superintendent build for that 4th heal. Does come in handy. Not always effective, but it does come in handy from time to time. And it comes in handy here. Our Iowa starts healing up a little bit. The Shokaku is running for his life right now from a nearly full health North Carolina and a nearly full health Alsace. Well, about half health Alsace. And a full health Ibuki. Biggest concern that I have, the Donskoy, the Puerto Rico, and the 2 Fletchers, the Fletcher and myself over here, the biggest concern we have is that Bayard. That Bayard can really eat through a destroyer's health pool very, very, very quickly. So, in Discord chat, I'm telling Valhalla, dude, gotta prioritize that Bayard. You gotta take him down. You gotta nuke him down. I can deal with the battleships. Fletcher can deal with the battleships with me, but we need that Bayard dead. Tirpitz pushing around the corner. He's going to start trying to take this cap. We switch to the super narrow spread on our torpedoes. We switch back to the wide. This is a technique that you can do a lot of the time. One very narrow spread and one wider spread to really make maneuvering a challenge if you're trying to dodge it. We dip in and out of the cap. No apparent reason why. Realizing that he's not going to stop pushing. Those torpedoes are going to miss. So we open up on him to try and see if we can reset that cap progress. Get a couple of resets. And now here's the problem. I'm going to be within secondary range the minute he pops those secondaries, but wait a minute. Is he not? He's not. He doesn't have a secondary build. And he's so focused on shooting me that he misses the fact the Fletcher torps are coming into his broadside. The Fletcher dunks him for 50 some odd thousand points of damage. We set a fire, and we get our second kill of the game. Another 13,000 points of damage. Fletcher is a boss. The Fletcher, I actually messaged the Fletcher after this game and tell him what an amazing job he does in this game, because our Fletcher was a superstar. Meanwhile, on the other side, Valhalla has been working hard on that Bayard. It does cost him his life, but the Bayard is left on 940 hit points, and he does not have a heal. At this point, our Atago is still extremely low. Our Donskoy is very low at about 40%. We still have a North Carolina and an Ibuki chasing our Shokaku and our Iowa, and the Alsace has decided it's time to push into B-cap. Well, I guess it's time for the Fletcher and I to do our thing again. We're trying to try and chase the Bayard and the Montana away, because we don't want them coming back, and the Alsace kills our Otago. They're capping B. We are very low on hit points. At one point, they have a 2-to-1 hit point advantage on us, and right now it's 130k to 205k. So they have a significant hit point advantage on us, and a lot of it's in that Montana. Fletcher is in smoke right now, plinking away at that Alsace and resetting him. We're tied on ships. We are up by 200 points, but this can very easily swing in either direction. This can very easily swing in either direction. If our Donskoy goes down, if our Iowa goes down, that's a lot of points in their favor. So we need to really, really play cautiously. I'm going to use a technique here. I'm going to split my torpedo launches to try and get a flood, pull out a damage control, and then set another flood. The one thing you'll notice with the Halland is the very short 10.4 kilometer gun range. It's very handy if you are setting floods on somebody and then you want to set a fire. It's especially nicely done. Three torpedo hits, 2 floods. If you want to set a fire, it's best to do from near max gun range and then just basically sail away out of gun range so that you go undetected. He's put the floods out. I'm going to open up with my guns, high explosive shells, trying to set a fire on that Montana, trying to burn him down a little bit. There's the fire set. We are going to stop shooting. We are going to attempt to get out of his range. However, the Alsace is pulling a turn, and he's going to stay in range. So, you know what? He's low health. He's 5,500 points. We're going to have to go after him anyway. We need to reset that cap. He's looking at our Donskoy. He wants to delete our Donskoy. We're going to take a couple of pot shots at him. He does start healing, but again, Fletcher, the boss, sitting in the smoke, forces him to turn. His guns cannot keep up with the turn until we're plunking away at him. He's healing, he's healing, he's healing. Now he gets his turrets around. That's 3x4, which is 12 shells, and that takes a huge chunk of our hit points down. We set another fire on him. This guy is going down. Can we live through it, though? Pop that heal. We put out the fires that he set. Thankfully, the Bayard is shooting AP at me because HE would have killed me. Pop our speed boost. We have 2 more heals available if we need them, which we may need them. Even though we're at 945 to 545, there goes our Donskoy. The NC kills the Donskoy. Couple of mistakes here. The Iowa makes a mistake. The Fletcher or I make a mistake, and we get deleted. And this game can swing very quickly, so... The Bayard, we're waiting to see where his turrets are, where his turrets pointed. They're looking they're looking right in my direction. I don't want to take that risk. It's not worth taking that risk. We get 2 torpedoes on the Montana. We break his steering. We set a flood. The Bayard turns his turrets. And I know the turret traverse of the Bayard well enough that I can say, I can get guns off before he can get those around and get a firing solution on me. Somehow those shells start landing short. I don't know how. He gets 1 salvo off. They all miss. They're all AP anyway. And that kill ends the game. Victory. We did 107,000 points damage with 7 torpedo hits, 20 planes shot down, 4 kills, and 1 assisted cap, and 3 cap defense. That is good enough for second on the team, 1,903 base experience. Valhalla carrying the mail with 1,986 base experience. Our division accounts for 7 out of 10 kills on the enemy team, and really, really does a good job of holding down those 2 caps, that B and C cap, and keeping people from taking them and pushing them away. And that's the power of the Halland. It's a great ship for denying areas. It doesn't have the alpha strike potential that other DDs do, but it's a fantastic pest of a destroyer, and it does an amazing job of keeping people on their toes. Guys, you can watch all of these at our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DrDrunkAKA. Link is in the video description for that. And until next time, Dr. Drunk from the Drunk Tank, signing off. See ya.